Right, it is now 6:30. I call the meeting to the Board of Education to order. Welcome our guests. Thank you for attending during the Christmas season. I suspect this will be a short meeting. That's me setting the stage for a short meeting. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Both the same. Motion carries. Do we have anybody speaking open forum?
No, sir.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that as well.
All right. Do we have any corrections to the open session minutes for last month? Can I get a motion to approve the open session minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the open session minute.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Both the same. Motion carries. Any discussion on the transfer and payment of bills? All right, can I get a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and payment bills.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Superintendent report.
Awesome. So I'll start off by saying Merry Christmas to everybody. I may not see you between now and December 25th. Area of Culture and Climate Relationship. We did have our holiday Christmas party and staff gathering on Saturday. Had about 45 people in attendance. Went really well. I think we had a really good holiday season comparing it with last year. Had a lot of things for the staff and students to participate in, so that was good. With personnel and staff, we will be looking at contract recommendations going into the spring and hope to be on the leading edge of that hiring. We do have a couple of non-teaching resignations and 2 hires this evening in our closed session. And as far as personnel and staffing, a large part of our budget process will be focused on salaries and benefits going into the spring for all staff, with a focus on retaining and attracting teaching and professional staff. Professional development's going well. Talked a lot about pervasive PD plans with the administrative team, and they're running their strategy and improvement plan through this year. It's working out pretty well. We did have the public release of our annual performance report. That I gave you some notes there that are actually inaccurate. They were in my initial package of data, but it only improved after I got our actual secured package of data. We actually improved 2.5 points from last year to this year. We're at 82.3, and now we're at 84.8 as far as our district report card. There were some highlights in there. In particular, when you look at kind of our compliance measures, our certification, our improvement plans, our college and career readiness, we score 100 points there as a district. Also, there are 2 areas. One area is performance and the other is continuous improvement. Performance takes a look at and grades you, so to speak, based on where you're at that time. Continuous improvement takes more of a look at what you're doing in terms of strategy, plans, and execution to actually improve your student achievement. We scored 100% in our continuous improvement column, and we scored very well in our performance. Now, we scored very well in comparison to the state, but we still have some room. I'll be working with our leadership team to go through and disaggregate our campus and program data, and we'll include that in our improvement plans for next year. Facilities, defer to Mr. Wilson on that, but for the most part, work has moved inside. We are concluding water testing, and we just sent that off, and we'll be posting our lead testing plan on our district website here shortly. Next steering committee to talk about our potential bond coming up will be January 3rd. Which will be an important meeting. We'll talk about some general bond language then. Also, in particular, we talked about a little bit about having some sort of UTV or something like that for the maintenance staff to use, because our athletics UTV came out so nice that we would never throw a gas can or anything like that. So I did find a used, pretty cheap UTV for maintenance there, just do things like mowing, that sort of thing. Athletics and fine arts, they'll continue to be a funding priority. We're taking a look at field improvements, and even asked take a couple companies take a look at our baseball and softball infield. Just interested in what that might look like as we continue to improve facilities. Had a lot of great holiday concerts where our fine arts staff did a great job and our kids did. Working with our football club on press box, I'm absolutely amazed by their work. They've got a lot of a potential press box project donated. Actually, there'll be very minimal costs for the district to continue moving forward there. Fund balance wise, we do have our audit report. We'll talk about that later. We are within about 1% of our prediction for fund balance. We're in good shape there. And we actually increased our ending balance from last year to this year by about 1%. And we're looking forward to putting a number on our future state adequacy target changes. Of course, focus on salaries and program support. One thing I did want to correct from my last meeting or from our last board, I didn't intentionally, but some of the feedback that I got regarding our transfer and tuition students, we do not get to always collect ADA on every tuition student. We do in some cases, if, say, for instance, we were to pay tuition to Jefferson City Schools for Nichols Career Center, we would still collect ADA on that student. And so when I posed the question, that was the guise in which, or the conditions in which I got an answer. So for our tuition transfer students, we will not collect ADA on them. Having said that, from a cost standpoint, we won't incur any costs as a result of students transferring either. And so will there be some costs? Absolutely, but they won't eclipse what our tuition rate is. But we will not get ADA on those parent transfers for out of district transfers. I will keep a close eye on that. And at the moment as we approach the point in which the tuition may eclipse what our cost to bring kids in, that's a discussion that I'll bring back to you guys and see if you want to make a change there. But I wanted to make sure and correct that from my last meeting.
The scores went up 2 points. Did the rest of the state, what did it do?
A lot of folks went backwards.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea, most did go backwards, including some of our neighbors. If you look at the total number of districts that got a report card, there were 558, including public schools, charter, state schools. We were ranked 91 or in the top 16.3%. So we beat out 86 or 85.7 or 84.7% of schools. If you looked at schools that had K-12 programs, there are 464 of those, and we are ranked 64th out of K-12 districts and in the top 13.79% based on the data package that is on our secure DESI website. We fared pretty well when quite a few other people went backwards.
All right.
Is that information, is it not on DESI's website yet, or like where could I?
You can look on DESI's website. There is public access information, which will give you the summary. But if you would like copies of what our secure data package is, which is more specific, be glad to share that with you. We will be looking at one thing we don't have yet. We really need is something called an item analysis. It's one thing to know that 82% of your students were successful on this exam, but of the 82% that were successful, which standards did they struggle with? We don't have that information yet. But we'll be looking through as we get more detailed data from the state, and we'll base our improvement plans programmatically and on a student by student basis on that data. But I doubt we'll get an item analysis with this data anytime soon.
It was in the paper today, wasn't it? Fairly, I don't know which paper or TV station or what it was, but I don't know, I'd call it controversy, but there was a big enough swing by some of the schools that they questioned using the data maybe.
I have heard that as well. But each year, so there are always, so there's something called the MPI, the Performance Index. That changes based on, it's all norm referenced for how the state does. So it's not unusual for people to feel, or districts to feel, as if they must, the scale score or index score might have placed them in a position that they're not very fond of. For us, though, I looked at kind of apples to apples, year to year, and we improved across the board to some degree in all areas.
My gut feeling is, if it's a new test, the schools that teach everything pretty good probably do just as well, if better. But schools that heavily teach to the test, I mean, do a ton of item analysis and try to teach directly to the test, maybe don't do as well when the test swings.
Unfortunately for us in Missouri, we don't get a lot of information through item analysis anyway.
Okay,
So, but when you do get a new test, and it's probably not as much about a new test in this case as it is a new APR scoring system, moving from MSIP 5 to MSIP 6. What MSIP 6 does rely heavily on is not necessarily where your student performance is at, but what are you doing to improve student performance? So if you're good at improvement, you have an opportunity to excel. But if you're not as good at improvement, but maybe you outscore Lynn in performance, let's just say but from a continuous improvement standpoint, those effort strategies and those supports you aren't as good at will beat you, even though our students may score slightly less, because our continuous improvement efforts are far better than yours. And we scored 100% on that.
Okay.
So I think that might be where some folks protest too. It's not where you're at, it's where you're trying to go. That you get quite a few points for, which I'm a big fan actually of that, but some people may not be.
okay, very good. Any other questions about that?
That's it's comprehensive. It's not just like standardized testing, correct? Isn't that a different report card overall, or is that just?
It is math, science, English, and social studies, but it also looks at attendance,
Okay,
college
right.
and career readiness.
Got it. Okay, that's what I thought. Like the testing component is a part, like a third of that. Something.
Probably more than that.
Okay.
But it is a significant portion of it, but there are other elements that we're strict on. Even, for instance, my certification gets you so many points. For a while in Missouri, it was quite a few, or not quite a few. I would be misspeaking to say that, but there was a concern that maybe superintendents were being certified as quickly as they needed to be. And so now that's a part of the district's APR, is whether or not you have a legally accredited superintendent.
Got it. All right, anything else? Discussion item, Mid-American Bank, COD.
We have 3 certificates of deposit. 2 of them are maturing and they're at about the 2.7 rate. Those are all part of our general fund balance. At 2.74, there is an opportunity out there if we were to shop, I think, to get a better rate. That's the part that I could speculate on where we might be. I think I deferred a little bit in my report summary that I knew Mark would have kind of some more information for that. So it's, do we want to go out for bid to go ahead and extend those with maybe the same or a different company at a better rate? Or what would we like to do with those? Or do we just want to cash them in and pull our money out? You have any thoughts on that, Mark?
So I'm not really sure what why we have it set up the way we do, because we have general deposits, and then we've got it looks like, as long as I've been on the board, we've got 3 different CDs with various maturity dates. My guess is that at some point CDs were earning much better than our general deposit bid account, and so we probably set some money aside. I kind of like the idea of having some of this money in a separate pot, like in these CDs. Right now, if I'm looking at the chart, right, we've earned pretty well on our general deposits. I think I was talking to Bob about this before the meeting, and I really think that We could do better than 2.7 on CDs right now. If I look at kind of the market rates, we're in kind of a strange time. I mean, I know everyone's dealing with inflation. And if you go and get a loan right now, rates are higher. Well, the same as with CDs. They were flat for a long, long time. Right now, it is a little wonky though, because typically if you go in and you get a CD at a bank or a savings institution, usually the longer the term, the better the rate. But right now, the rates are better for the near term. So 9 months to a year is better than after about 12 months, it starts to plummet. And that's because they think, they being market experts, I guess you could say, seem to think that maybe a year from now, rates actually might decrease a little bit. So savings institutions don't want to pay you any more than they have to a lot of times. And so their thinking is, we can do a higher rate now for a 12-month CD, but when it renews, it might renew at a lower rate. So I would think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to test the waters and see what sort of rate we could get on, say, a 12-month CD, and make a little bit more money on our savings right now.
Am I correct, Mark, that if we get just a rate that's significantly more attractive to us, then we can renegotiate our other, well, we have 2 maturing, so at least those mature, but we have another CD that is a very, very low rate that renewed in September. We do have some flexibility with that CD as well.
I would say it would probably, we could do the math real quick, but I mean, like, if we got a better rate on those 2 that are maturing and we decided, hey, let's see if we can get the same rate on the third one, I'm sure that we could get the penalty for cashing in the CD early would probably, we would still be ahead by taking the new rate, is what I'm saying. The only drawback to that, I guess, as I'm thinking about this out loud, is we may want I guess there's 2 that mature at the same time, but you may want, I guess, in theory, to ladder them so that they don't all mature at the same time. But if we can get a good rate and for all 3 of them, I would say we take it, and then at least we've made more money on our money for the next year. So yeah, we could break that CD and take the penalty and probably still end up ahead.
But we
That
shot
would be
for him
too
a
hard.
couple weeks ago across the street. And it was anything 6 to 12 months, it's anything to 5 to 5.3%. Does that sound probably about where we still are?
Yeah,
About double what our 2 CDs are and about 10 times what the September CD is. So I do think we have an opportunity here if we just go ahead and go out for bid and then make a selection.
Your only real question is, do you need the money or not? Go short term or long term, 6 months or 12 months?
I don't know for us in a fund balance, the fund balance that position that we will need that money unless we just want to reduce our fund balance.
So you might as well stretch it out as long as we can to
Get it to make money for us.
plus rate. Okay, anybody disagree with that? Okay, very good. The old service animal policy.
So I
Do we
copied
have
you.
one?
No, we don't.
Okay.
But I did
We need to.
provide one in the board notes, and all I did was take some samples from what other districts do. We are interested in getting a service animal for special programs. A lot of kids, especially from an anxiety standpoint, benefit a great deal from having one available. But we've also in the past had students that had service animals as a part of their IEP, but we had no policy or guideline in place. We don't find ourselves currently in that position, which is a good time for us to go ahead and work through adopting a policy that makes sense for the district. What I would like to do is go ahead and get you guys having looked at the sample policy, give me some feedback on what you liked or didn't like about it. Doesn't necessarily have to be now if you're not ready for that. But then I'd like to come back with a first read in January and have you guys take a look at service animal policy that, again, makes sense for us.
Anybody have any concerns? with the policy in there, we clearly need one, so when we do have a student that
Definitely.
decides to bring their,
It sounded
Yeah,
fine to
just-
me. It was like thorough, everything. I didn't see anything wrong with it at all.
The only thing I questioned, because it seemed kind of broad when it talked about animals, was, we do a lot of events for 4-H. And it said stuff like, don't bring outside animals in, unless vaccinated, like it had a whole list of things. So is that going to impact that kind of activity? That was one of the questions I had for it.
We would write our policy to exclude that because that's a pretty significant part of our programming. And I'm sure somebody has overcome that as a niche in their policy, so we would just write that down.
Because it was talking about, tethering and caging, and I was thinking, like, for 4-H day specifically, I know that they kind of
those
have a
would
rope
be,
around a calf's neck or
but those would
something.
be servicing, so that,
No, but it was kind of broad in a section talking about animals coming to school, so that's where I was
Okay.
questioning, did it also impact those type of
Nuance
activities?
that just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, like we could like
Right,
excluding extracurricular something,
yeah, because that, it talked about bringing in animals for school curriculum, and so that's where I was questioning, how did that impact people?
They're not trying to say that.
I have a question on that, just by clarification. So if this is a service animal, I'm assuming the student would be bringing that on a daily basis into the classroom. Is that what you're discussing?
Could be, it depends on what the needs of that particular student are, but the most typical example would be a student, say with like a service animal that's a dog or something like that, that would follow the student around as an emotional support animal, that type of thing. That is the most typical, which rarely do you see much outside.
Right,
Sorry.
which we've already had.
We
yeah,
have.
we just don't have a policy, which,
Right.
And another reason I bring that up is another place we went to, there were students in the classroom that had significant allergies to certain animals. So that would be my concern, if the animals would be in that confined space in the classroom. If it would impact, any other students in there, if that is something to make sure that is being looked at before they put that animal in that classroom.
okay, so bring us back something next month,
Sounds good.
okay. Action item. Wheel alone,
Our lease purchase for the track, there was a resolution that's just it's really an administrative requirement that we actually vote on a resolution to take the loan. I was made aware of that after the last board meeting. So in consideration of that resolution, we would need to adopt it if that is what we're choosing to do officially in board minutes.
can I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
I move we adopt the resolution.
Can I get a second,
I'll second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, the same. Motion passes. And the audit, this is a record timing for the audit, I guess.
It is for this crew. It is an annual requirement by law, and as we previously discussed, we have improved the last 2 years. No fraudulent practices nor serious financial process issues were discovered. We did have a few payroll and benefits issues related, essentially the number of boxes you check for retirement or which level weren't checked correctly. So we caught a couple of those. Those were actually on boards from the beginning of last summer and resulted in the overpayment of the staff, of one staff member, and the underpayment of 2 retirement accounts. Our cash handling practices have improved a great deal, with one exception. Now we do we reconcile monthly, but at the end of the year, you have to reconcile all 12 months and summary. We didn't do that before the audit, and so we got gigged on that. And we still have too much money in although we have less, we have too much money in our food services account. So I'm working with Miss Kelly Krause on some things that we need in the kitchen, and I'm sure you guys are aware, we've been spending some of that surplus on buying more and better food for our students and staff. And so my recommendation is that we approve the audit. I'll have to upload that by December 31st.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? One thing I've noticed, the file itself, I think, was misspelled. Early trivia, but audit was AUTID or something like that.
I just appreciate that. We have significantly less issues and. Having a audit with less issues saves us money and it makes me feel better as a board. I think we're headed in the right direction.
Absolutely agree. All right, with that, can I get a motion to approve the audit? Did I already get that? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Even if I said it, I know it. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Any further discussion? We go to the order. Next regular meeting will be January 18, 2024 at 6:30. With that, could I get a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant to RSMO 610.021 subsections 13 relative to personally identifiable employment information, 3 personnel actions, 6 personally identifiable student information, 1 legal actions involving a public body and the privileged communications among that body and its representatives or attorneys.
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Lori? Naomi?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
I'm yes. We are.